Ed.
I'm really trying to not do this. I'm not trying to do this. I'm just... How you doing, bud?
Good, man. Good. Just relax. The Valium kind of like, hey.
Well, it is a bit of a night hang. This is...
It is.
We've only had a couple night hangs in this coffee hang world. You look much better than the last one.
Well, the last one I was feeling rather vampirish.
By 7 o'clock?
There's a little bit of rouge still, but I feel like I have a little more color in my face this time.
With this COVID thing, it's like 7 o'clock. You're done. It's just time.
My beard's getting longer though.
It is.
I have a new
trim.
No, not at all. No, nothing.
I trimmed. Look at this. I shaved and.
No, I haven't. No, I have a new trick. I'll show the folks afterwards.
Right. I like that trick. We're gonna have to do a time lapse video of all the sessions and watch the hair grow and then go shorter and grow and go shorter. This way.
Maybe I'll do a big thing for charity at the end of it all. Like, just, okay.
That's it. Well, we're in February, and we've got a pretty rocking guest coming up.
We got an amazing guest, and we got a rocking lineup coming up. We won't reveal it now, but we're pretty excited.
Yeah, we're very lucky to have every person that's come on has just been mind-blowing, their stories. And anyway, this guy is no exception, and let's get to it. Who do we got, Frank?
Tonight, we've got Dave McMillian. He's a Hamilton boy right now, but he grew up in Midland, where he played professionally in all the local clubs and bars like we all did. When he turned 19, he moved to Toronto to study jazz at Humber College. And in there, he started playing stages in studios, toured Canada, the US, all over the place with some of Canada's top artists. Mm-hmm. They include Big Rec, Justin Bieber, Carly Rae Jepsen, Nick Carter, the Philosopher Kings, Fifi Dobson, Crash Karma, Brian Mello, Keisha, Shantae, Trouble Charger, and Shiloh, to name a few.
Just a few.
Pretty heavy duty. And from playing with these artists, he's also played with some amazing producers, some of the industry's top producers. Nick Reskulinitz from Foo Fighters, Rush, Alice in Chains, Eric Ratz, who did Billy Talent, Cancer Bats, Gavin Brown of 3 Days Grace, Tragically Hip, and John Levine, Philosopher's King. So just a wealth of stories, no doubt, on top of everything else.
What do they say?
A heavy cat.
All killer, no filler?
Exactly. There's no filler on that one,
No filler.
The keys are dropping all over the place here.
What do we love about bass players the most is when they just lay it down with the drummer. And this cat does that on 11,
Yeah, I've seen him play a few times here locally, and it's just, before I even knew like where he came from, just as this guy's a pretty heavy cat, and then you find out his background. It's like, oh, well, it makes sense.
Yeah. Let's get him in.
How's it going?
How are you, man?
Dave.
I'm good. How you doing, buddy?
Good to meet you, buddy.
Brother.
Yeah.
Good to meet you too.
So, how's things been going, man? It's been a long time since we've seen each other.
It has been a long time since I've seen anybody.
Well, we were just talking about how facial hair over the last, 12 months has grown and come shorter and grown. And, we've all tried different things.
I have.
How's the?
I got a pen holder I discovered today. I can put my pen in there.
That's amazing.
Put picks in there once I can start playing.
I can do that too. Just wait. Soon enough, there'll be like some sort of comb over thing. I can just put it right there. But Frank, Dave Frank. I guess you guys have not met.
All I know is where he lives because I've dropped his coffee off for him.
That's right.
What'd you think of that coffee?
It's amazing.
Did you? Oh, good. You tried it. Good.
Yeah, followed the directions on the bag and everything. It was the first time I've used. I have the French press. It was like the first time I've pulled that thing out in probably 2 years.
Well, what do you normally do? Do you do a drip? Are you a drip machine guy? What do you do?
Yeah, I'm lazy. I have a what do you call it? I have one of those AeroPress things that I take on tour.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, at home it's usually just the machine thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What would your rig be when you go on road then? Like, would you have an AeroPress? You got a little mini grinder? Or do you have it in a case? What's the vibe?
Nothing that fancy. It's an AeroPress in my backpack. Yeah, and then if there's a kettle or usually I go hotel room, I'll just ask for a kettle.
Yeah, okay.
That way I'm not stuck using their crappy in-room coffee thing. But yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, Frank and I put a coffee case together, like
Seriously?
a Pelican type case with a French press, a grinder, a couple cups, all the stuff you need.
Frother.
The frother we had for a while,
That's lost.
Yeah. Just pull it out in the green room and make coffee.
We had one tech on our a couple tours ago who had that kind of thing, and he would measure how hot he was boiling the water.
Yeah, right.
Everything. It was a whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were doing it on a 1,000-watt inverter on a tour bus going 120 kilometers an hour. I'm not sure if pouring hot water into a French press is the smartest thing, but
let's correct that. A tour bus wouldn't have been as scary.
No,
this was a smaller bus that had a lot of bumps and motions and all this. And here we are boiling this kettle. The door and the highway is right there because it's got one of those, those doors. So you're looking through and you're holding this hot boiling kettle of water, and you're waiting for the bump to happen and shit going everywhere, right?
Wait, did you say one of these doors? It was like a school bus?
Yeah, well, kind of like that, like a small one of those little buses, and you could see through the clear doors. You know what I mean?
Well, that's terrifying.
It is terrifying. And this particular driver, we had to tell him, Mike, you're approaching the U.S. border. You might want to slow down a little bit. You're a white bus coming at the border.
Right.
He ran the curb going up to see the border guard. And the border guard had to ask him, hey, dude, have you been drinking?
Oh, no.
At the border. The worst place, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I get nervous going through the border when I'm just going on vacation.
Right.
It's just I don't know. There's just something about it. I don't know.
In your career, musically for work, how many times do you think you crossed the border? I know hundreds, right? But
yeah,
it was in the hundreds, or do you think would you be tipping to the thousands?
Oh no.
Hundreds.
I'd say. Going back and forth into the U.S., I'd say probably in the hundreds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've noticed, and tell me if you've noticed this or not, but the border has kind of loosened up in the last few years as far as if you got your paperwork.
Yeah.
And you're working legit, they're just okay, have a good show, guys, and off you go.
No, absolutely. We had, usually, I find, to be honest with you, the Canadian border is a little stricter coming back in.
Yes.
Lately. It used to be totally the opposite.
Yeah.
Last time we had one, we did a late night crossing where, we all got off the bus and then they had the dog go on the bus and, that whole kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But then by the end, it was they were basically getting the dog to do tricks for us and stuff. And we're all buds, so it was. Yeah.
They just want to go on the rock and roll tour.
That's right.
Bus,
they want to be on there.
Yeah. And then they get on and smell it and okay, no, we're good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Oh, the end of the tour this is. Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think most guys now, the cost of, what everyone knows what the cost of a visa is. Mm-hmm. And it's you just don't want to take a chance with that. So people are just, most people are smarter about it. You don't,
absolutely.
Otherwise it's 5 or 10 years of you're not playing in the States. And
it's not 1983 anymore either. Let's just throw that out there.
Yeah.
For some people it is. For some people it still is,
I'm sure it is, but on our bus we're a bunch of old men.
Exactly. I know.
Like us, we have to take every second exit just so Frank could take a piss.
I'm looking at some shares and depends, and that'll be I don't need to stop. Go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey man, so how would you? Everybody's story is similar in the COVID time, but it's also extremely different. You want to. How have you been? How's it been going for you and your family and all that stuff? Because I know you got kids, so that's a challenge.
Yeah, no, it's been weird. I think it's been kind of the same as at first it was, just weird and kind of boring and trying to, too much Netflix and, I know out of the gate first, literally within the first week of this thing, I was okay, I got to learn how to record from home. I got to get that whole thing happening, which I'm sure everybody did.
Mm-hmm.
So I went out and bought an Apollo and got myself up and running so I could record from home, and then learned that.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, it's just, and I've been practicing probably more than I ever have.
Awesome.
Just like, well, maybe since like college.
Yeah.
But just like working on my playing as opposed to like, okay, I got to learn these 10 songs in 2 hours and get to the gig.
Exactly.
And just trying to keep in shape that way, because I mean, I feel like if I hadn't been practicing, by the time we actually get to do a gig, whatever that is, I'm just going to be so rusty, just getting in front of people, And I felt, I mean, we did some of those drive-in shows over the summer, and it was the first night I was like, man, my hands are not like, by the end of the night, my fingers were killing me. I was just like, on. Even though I've been practicing, it's a different callus. And I was exhausted. How was I jumping around this much before? But yeah, in terms of like around here, it's just kind of trying to keep busy, the usual kind of COVID stuff.
Yeah, Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's pretty much it.
How's the kids online with school? Like they're both, you got them both in school?
They went back today.
Oh, they did today.
I'm in Hamilton, so
that's right.
Hamilton started up again today.
Okay.
But yeah, and the usual, like the online thing, French immersion too is a little like, I'm like, I can't help you.
Wow.
You're on your own. I mean, I don't understand a word this woman is saying. But no, they're troopers. They did they did great, and
awesome.
they were both super excited, I think, to go back to actual class.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What grades?
2 and 7.
Okay, yeah. So I got senior kindergarten and grade 6.
Right.
So my grade 6er, she's the same thing. She's like, I want to go back. Like, 3 weeks ago, she's like, forget this, man.
Yeah.
Where are my friends?
Yeah. Well, how did kindergarten go? That must have been.
Well, she's been online the whole year.
Oh.
So it's no different for Lavi, for the little one. So, and that's, how do you keep kindergartners their attention, right? How do you keep that attention online? Where there's already like the voice is cutting off, and like it's crazy, man. Half the time but I give the teachers full props. Like, wow, the patience.
Oh, I can't. I don't know how they do it.
I've already had to buy 3 laptops because I've thrown 3 of them through the window. 3. Oh, shit.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching my son like the grade 2 class, and it's just like how does this woman do this? She knows. I mean, she's talking French to them. Like, they don't, they're not following. And she knows it, but she's got to just keep doing it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
she's just talking to herself out there. No.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah.
Right on.
Well, I can't say I can empathize with you guys. My kids are in their 20s, so
yeah.
Oh, okay, nice.
Beyond that, how to finish school, a whole different kettle of fish they have to deal with, though. So
They're working online.
Working in that, my daughter works, and they had an issue of she can work from home no problem, but they wanted her back for a couple of days a week, which is out in Brampton, and the commute's from like Stony Creek to Brampton for 2 days a week. So she's finally still back at home now, but everyone's coping.
Right.
We're all still going. But the fact I can't see them all the time is a harder thing for me too.
Right.
That kind of stuff. It's a little different.
Yeah, we've been very thankful for that. Like, to have a tight family. Jill's teaching, so she's been at home teaching, and both the kids. But we've had great family time. Like, when you're busy and on the road, I mean, half the time you're calling home to say, can you throw some more clothes in the washer because I have about an hour and a half before I have to leave,
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the amount of just like, even like, I remember when it first started, like we went on hikes every day, and just like, because I live kind of near a wooded area.
Nice.
And just, stuff that we never really did. I mean, we do occasionally before, but when you it's just like, you got to find stuff to do every day.
Yeah.
was awesome. We got like bonding time. It was good.
Totally, man.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, it becomes then a daily routine.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the real dirty side of it is that when we go back to all this gigging, we're going to expect that routine. We're going to be like, hey, I like that life.
I like going to bed at 10 o'clock at night.
It was funny. I was leaving to go to a studio recently, and my son's like, "Where are you going?" And I'm like, "I'm going to work." And he's like, "That's upstairs." Like he thinks I work at his office, you know.
Yeah.
Like no, I actually have to leave the house.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's been. I think after the lockdown, I think I missed 7 or 8 dinners with my wife, just because we had a couple Calgary shows and a few drive-in shows and stuff like that. But so that was nice. That's something that you get 3 or 4 of those a week as opposed to all 7 of them. So that felt good, and I'm gonna miss that part of it.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
So you said that you did some drive-in shows over the summer. Was that the last time you guys played some shows?
Yeah, we did. What did we do? We did like kind of like a Southern Ontario little run. So we did the Toronto one, the one down by like off Lakeshore there.
Yeah. By the docks or whatever, right? Like where
Rebel
was?
Like Ontario place, like in the parking lot.
Ontario, yeah.
Just by the Molson Amphitheater or by the stage or whatever. Yeah.
In the parking lot of Molson Amphitheater, basically.
Yeah.
And that one was great. We did one up on like Manitoulin Island.
Oh yeah.
Interesting. Like it was great. It was a great show. It was, everybody was into it, but it was just you could tell like they weren't kind of prepared for it. Whoever the promoter was.
Yeah.
But the show was great and people loved it. We did Hamilton, we did Sarnia, and we did Ottawa as well.
Oh yeah.
But that was it.
Did you guys have full arrays where you were playing? Because we did one with, and we did a few where they were just sending to car radios, and that was weird.
They were all sending to car radios.
Yeah.
And I think like Toronto, for instance, like they had a full line array, like a full PA, but they limited it for like, so basically you could be standing right in front of it and be talking to one another.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah.
Minus stage volume, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you got out of the car, like I don't think you could really hear much.
Okay, yeah.
I think Ottawa, I mean, I don't know for sure, but it felt like they were really pumping the PA. I'm on in-ears.
Yeah.
But it felt like they were definitely pushing the PA. The reason I said that thing about the Manitoulin Island is because we showed up and it was literally like one of those PAs on sticks, like the 12-inch driver.
No.
I was like, we're like, that's not enough. And then they're getting out of the cars and you can see them like, we can't hear the vocals. It's like, all you're hearing is the stage.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the true form of PA, right?
Exactly.
Public announcement. It was just for the vocals.
I'm like, I've done weddings that had bigger PAs than this.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, just
it's big wreck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of air moving off that stage.
No shit.
So,
just Chuck's kick drum alone is enough air to.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
So, that's crazy. Yeah, our last show was in October in Calgary. It was like a hotel thing. I think 350 people. So the balconies played out to the pool area on the third floor, and we were set up there. It was minus 14.
Oh God.
And during sound check, it was like a cooler night in Cuba. So I thought this is going to be okay. Well, they ran the propane heaters after sound check, and we didn't get on stage till 9. They ran out of propane when we hit the stage.
Hold on.
And
Frank's just said that it was like a cool night in Cuba.
With the heaters.
Well, I know. So let me just fill Dave in here for a second. I go over from the drum kit over to Frank to talk to him. I had to take my jacket off. It was so hot over there. Behind the kit, I am freezing my ass off. Yeah. Like I'm like, I got lighters on my fingers just so I could try to warm up my fingers. And he's over there with a shirt and he's sweaty. Well, it reversed.
It reversed for so long.
His heater quit.
It was 2 artists, 2 45-minute sets. The first artist, I was like, okay, I just got to get through this song. By the second artist, okay, I know there's a verse. Okay, oh God, there's a solo coming up. I can't feel my fingers.
Karma, baby.
And that's the worst feeling. I mean, we've all been there. Like Canadian outdoor, like New Year's shows outside, which are the worst thing in the world. But like, 2 songs in, like you can't. It kills.
Yeah,
you're trying to feel where you are and you can't, and it hurts. It's awful.
And it's weird. There's a few video clips were sent back to us, and it. Like, wow, that actually sounds good. Like, you know, surprisingly, like, because I was concentrating so hard on just being able to put my fingers in the right spot. Like, you couldn't do anything but that. I couldn't pay attention to what was going on. Like,
you know how they say dress in layers? Well, Frank was like, by the end of the show, he had more layers on.
I know.
He did. Like, he had to keep putting more jackets.
I know. And those hot shots for the hands, that was good for like one song. It's like sticking me in.
Oh, the pocket things?
Yeah,
they did. That worked for 2 songs, and that was it.
Yeah. Well, it keeps you from overplaying, though. Like, you know, you're never going to like overdo a solo or something.
Yeah, no, I had to
play the melody and get out.
See, I've done shows that are cold like that, but it didn't, you know, it wasn't a paid, this was a paid audience. They paid some good money for this. And it was a tribute show, and we were sort of like, I better be playing some of these solos pretty close to the show, and some of them got a lot of movement going on. And there was a couple minor chords when they should have been major chords, because, but...
we did a New Year's up in Barrie, like 6 or 7 years ago. It was a while ago. But it was like we were all up there with like parkas on, like full parkas. I had the gloves with the fingers cut off, standard toques, everything. And they had their little propane heaters around the front. It's basically like standing 5 feet away from a toaster.
Yeah.
They don't get anything out of these things. And they kept blowing out anyways. And we were like, oh my God. Like every time I'm like, this solo coming up, I'm like, this poor guy. Like worst case, I mean, honestly, if I don't play it, really, I can play 8th notes all night. To notice. Yeah. He's got to play leads. You know, I'm like, got Albatross or something where he's got all the This is
oh shit.
But you get the through it. Man, we ran from that stage.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like it was brutal.
I'm just thinking of Ian playing slide too, and there was a couple songs I had to play slide on, and it was during gentle songs, and it was my hands shaking from the cold. Right. So it's like the slides bouncing off the strings. It's just
really good vibrato.
Oh yeah! Wow! Look at that's a new trick he's doing there. But again, if it would have worked, it was a beautiful They just should have had 2 tanks,
right?
Or put it on low during.
Or just shut it off during the
when the stage was dark. Yeah. Like there was 4 hours in between, and they shouldn't have been running.
They just kept it going.
They just kept it going, which I understand for some of the gear, but not that hot. Anyways.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, it was a cool night in Cuba, so.
Yeah. That's what, it was cold by the end. Oh, jeez.
You're not gonna live that one down.
No. Those heaters too, like if they do work, as soon as you go near them, your guitar is out of tune or your bass is out of tune.
Well, part of the fact that the heaters cut down was I didn't have to tune my guitar once for an 1.5-hour set. So,
right.
Because there was no changing of temperature; it was just frozen.
Really cold.
How would you like, sir, to take us through a timeline of your musical life? Like, sure. You were born and raised in Midland, right?
Yeah.
And what happened there? Were you in music in high school? Like, did you get into that world?
Yeah, I think I started in like grade 8. Like, I kind of got my first bass in grade 8.
Oh yeah.
Would have been somewhere between there and starting high school. It was, a total typical bass player story. Friends want to start a band. Mm-hmm. The only thing left was bass, so I got I didn't know what it was. Right. Kind of thing. I'm like, oh, that's the big one, right? Yeah. And I get, it was like kind of like Nirvana. It came out, Pearl Jam. It was that era.
Oh like yeah, cool.
London era or whatever. And I started playing, and then during high school, like I really got into it. And during high school, I actually started playing in. My high school music teacher had a band, like a wedding band kind of thing. / kind of original band, and he asked me to do some gigs with him, and I ended up playing in his band, cool. And recording an album with him, and that's kind of what got me. I was actually making money, like it was my job in high school.
Nice.
And then like I kind of realized when we did his record, which was actually, it was here in Hamilton actually. We drove down, there used to be a studio, like it was called Stony Creek Studios. It's not there anymore as far as I know. But it was like all like 2-inch tape. Like there was no Pro Tools.
Was it on the mountain or was it on the?
It was up on the mountain. Yeah.
Highland Studios.
Maybe.
Yeah, Highland Studios would have been up there by where the drive-in is up that way.
You know what? I'm honestly, I was in high school at the time.
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't been out that way since. Maybe.
Yeah, I've recorded a couple times in that studio. If you were
a big stony board.
Yeah.
And I remember going in to do the record, and at the time it was me. There was another guy that I went to high school with playing guitar, and my music teacher's cousin, I think, was the drummer. And we got in. It was like within like an hour. They're like, "Yeah, this isn't gonna work." Like it was just like it was, but he kept me. He fired his cousin.
Okay.
He fired the guitar player, and he ended up getting some local guys from here. He got Dave King, I think, played drums on it, and Steve Strongman played guitar.
That's slouch.
Yeah, exactly. It's hilarious because he lives like right around the corner from me.
Yeah.
But we went in to record that record, and it was kind of weird. It was so once we realized it wasn't working, they took like a month off, and then we tried again with the actual, like with those guys. And then it was like first day, I'm like, wow, I'm out of my league here. Like I remember, I'm like, I'm gonna just go for a walk. And I went I'm like, I can't keep up with these guys. Like it sounded horrible, everything I played with these guys. But the engineer on it, this guy Roman Clune, I think.
Roman Clune, yeah.
You know, okay.
Yeah, he's in New York now.
Oh yeah. He was like, no, man, it's okay. We're gonna just track drums and guitar, and then when these guys leave for the night, you and I are gonna go through and record all the bass. And we sat there and like punch after punch, just nail. And I really kind of learned how it's done. Playing the drummer and all that kind of stuff. And it was literally like all night, and for like a couple of days. And that I was kind of like, okay, I can do this. I can figure this out. And then I kept at it, and I ended up going, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to college for this. This is going to be a career path kind of thing. So I ended up applying to Humber. I applied to Humber and Mohawk. I got in, I went to Humber, did that whole thing, which was great. There was in terms of like, I'm not a jazz guy. Like I like jazz. I understand the concepts behind it, but it never was really my thing. I thought I was going to be like a fusion guy there for a while. I had a couple of 6-string basses.
Whoa!
A lot of
6.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and they were all up here. My first like good bass was an F bass 6-string.
That's when guitar players just stopped playing with that. Oh, bass players playing up in our. I'm sure.
Let's go back to Waka Waka.
Yeah. And then I did like cruise ships and stuff.
Okay.
Just
so on the cruise ship, what were you doing? Were you in the show band, or Frank's Mr. Cruise Ship man over here?
Oh yeah. I was in the orchestra, I guess. Which was amazing because I was having to read charts every day.
Yeah, cool. Nice.
I mean, I didn't like any of the music per se, but just in terms of like, okay, like having to read charts, getting different artists coming on board, you'd have to back them up. Doing the musicals, even like doing hits for comedians, doing dance sets before the shows. It was heavy sight reading and just really zoned in.
Cool.
That was
good for the time period to put the work in and get that skill set, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And get paid.
And get paid.
Yeah. And see places. Like I got to do, my first run was like 4 months in the Mediterranean. Like,
nice.
I'd do like 12-day cruise from Barcelona to where was it? Like all the way through Italy, like Greece. It was amazing. Venice.
Wow.
So for that aspect, it was great. I don't want to go on a cruise ship right now.
No.
But yeah, and then after that, I got back. I remember right out of college, there was a guy that I went to school with, and he was playing with this singer. Her name was Angelique, and it was being produced by John Levine, who was one of the guys from the Philosopher Kings. And he got me into that gig. And through that, I met some people. I actually met Chuck on that gig. He was the drummer. And I met another buddy of mine, Yurko, who I ended up working with for a long time. and he had just come out of the Nelly Furtado camp. So I was starting to meet some people in that, and we had a good run with that. Eventually, though, it was kind of, she ended up, I think, moving to LA and doing something down there. And then I just played with a bunch of different artists around Toronto. There was a lot of like, it's going to be the next big thing kind of thing. You know, I did a lot of pop gigs for a while, which was great. I played with this girl, Shiloh.
You were in Thornley, right? Before they went back to Big Red?
Yeah, I had subbed in with Crash Karma. I don't know if you remember them. It was Jeff Burrows on drums. Anyway, so Jeff
Edwin, I think, was singing, wasn't
he? Was singing, and Mike Turner was on guitar.
Okay.
From Our Lady Peace. And and we, so I subbed in with them. And at the time, Jeff was playing with Ian, kind of filling in.
Oh, okay.
I think it was after Eric had left or something.
Right.
And anyway, they needed a bass player, and I got a call from Jeff one day, like, would you be interested? You know, would you be able to like audition next week? I'm like, yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Especially at the time, it was just after the gig I'd had kind of stopped, you know, as gigs do, just kind of fizzled out. So yeah, and I started learning the tunes, and a week went by, and then 2 weeks went by, and then I think it was like a month. But I kept talking to Andy Curran, who was his manager at the time. He said, no, we're still going ahead with this. But it was cool because it gave me time. Like at first I learned like the 3 audition pieces. Yeah. And then I was like, well, I'm gonna start digging into his set. So I think by the time I auditioned, I knew his entire set kind of, and then some. Yeah. Was good, because I think the first gig I did with him was like a week or 2 later.
Wow.
After the audition.
Yeah.
And I think I was the only guy that auditioned.
Was that right?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I would think that, like, knowing kind of how Ian likes to do things, when you went in there, you probably played an audition piece, and then he's probably, okay, you got it, let's do a bunch of other stuff. Like, did it go down like that, do you think?
It was funny. It was what they asked me, like, they'd given me a couple of songs initially to learn. And he just asked, he's like, so what do you want to do?
Yeah, cool.
And I was like, Ian can be intimidating when you first meet him, you know.
Yeah.
I was kind of like,
a little bit?
Yeah. Which is hilarious because he's like my best friend now.
He's
but
Teddy,
I still remember that first time he walked in. I was like, he's a lot taller than I thought.
Totally.
But we played Blown Wide Open, and right after he's like, so do you want to be in the band? Like,
Yes, he did. Amazing.
We ran the whole set. You know.
Cool.
Right on, man.
Well, that's the thing when you find, like, you are not, in my opinion anyway, you're not just a side guy in that band. Like, I think he has found his guy, you know. And then, I mean, the other guys in the band are smoking, and like, it's a band now, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's the way it feels, for sure.
Yeah, and I bet you he probably felt that the second, and that's why it's like jamming with somebody that you like, or you're connecting that vibe with.
Right.
It's not like work. It's like, well, you can probably jam for 2 hours and just, because it feels good.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's cool, and we hang out, like we're buds, like, so there's that aspect of it too. It's not which I mean we've all toured with people that we don't get along with, but there's none of that in this band.
Yeah,
it's just like it's a good group of guys, and we all like hanging out.
Yeah, and you can feel it though, man. You can feel it in the music. You can see it when you guys are playing. I mean, it's crystal clear.
Yeah, and it's, I remember recording with him for the first time, and he just kind of kept being like, no, do more. Like, just do what and it was a lot of that. Like, in his, especially back then, like his demos, I mean, they're like albums.
Yeah.
They're very involved demos.
Yeah.
And they have all the parts. It's like, I could spend all day just learning one of his bass parts.
Right.
Cool. But yeah, he really pushes to like, no, do more stuff, which is you never hear on a set. Like, I'm always getting okay, that was great. Now give me like half of that.
Yeah, right.
That was, depending on the mood that day, you kind of want to stretch out a bit. But it's like, oh, I was listening to too much Billy Sheehan this week. Okay,
why were you flinging your bass around your neck and like you don't do that in the session, man. You save that for live.
I know. Yeah, that was that. Yeah. But yeah, like Ghost is a perfect example. Like, originally I was just kind of playing the bass line. He's like, no, I want more stuff.
Right.
It was just, by the end, I mean, the song is like practically a bass solo.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a lot going on in there.
Super badass, dude.
Yeah.
Have you ever done any military stuff?
Yes, I went. I've done two things. I went with Crash Karma. I did Afghanistan.
Right.
So we did the Kandahar thing for a week.
Yeah.
I think it was a week. Which is a while
10
ago
days
now.
or something, probably.
Something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I did that in 08.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I would have done that just after that, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have been like my daughter was born, so I would say 11 or somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a crazy experience.
Unreal.
Yeah. That was that was not a funny one, but I was just like, because I was subbing in, I wasn't a band member. Their guy couldn't do it, Amir. Yeah, it was just like, the whole thing was just like a whirlwind. I mean, I still think back on it, like, did I actually go to Afghanistan? Like, like, it's just, it was crazy. I don't know what else more to say about it. I mean, it's like, it was weird because like the whole week is kind of like leading up to a show. It's like, we're doing a show here,
Yeah.
It was cool. Guy Lafleur was with us.
Oh, so, that's cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
It's a weird thing to admit as a Canadian, but like, I'm not a hockey player at all. I can't skate.
Same here.
I'm the worst skater. But we played ball hockey.
Yeah.
I kind of know the rules. Yeah. Like, I know the concept, but I'm on Guy's team. And so as soon as I got the ball, I'm just like, where's Guy? And I just passed it to Guy and he got the goal. So I'm like, the one time in my life I've played hockey, I got an assist on a Guy Lafleur.
Get out of here.
That's pretty awesome.
Amazing.
I guess that kind of makes up for the fact that I can't skate.
I have a picture, and maybe I'll post it here, but I have a picture of that hockey rink, like that outdoor thing in the square right by Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
And the most hilarious picture in the penalty box, normally you see like sticks, leaning up against the penalty box. No, firearms, all the rifles, and then they're playing hockey, but they have to have their rifle nearby. I mean, it's theater, right? It's full-on war.
Yeah, by the way, this is probably the only time that they actually don't have to hold their guns or carry their weapons is when they play hockey. Go figure.
Oh, you would ask me about highlights.
Yeah.
I mean, there's shows that I can think of that stand out. I mean, it's all kind of been. Yeah, that's a weird thing to say, but I mean, getting into the band was kind of a highlight for me. I was a fan before. I liked Big Rock.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of cool to be in that band. I mean, it's just kind of for me. Okay, well, because I came from that kind of pop thing. One thing that does stand out was my very first day recording Albatross. I literally was loading my gear into the studio, and my phone rang, and it was Dan Cantor. Going back to him for a second, And he was asking me if I'd be interested in playing with Carly Rae Jepsen doing a world tour opening for Justin Bieber. It was my first day at the studio with Ian. And I don't think I really did consider, because I was so, at that point, I was like, okay, I want to stop doing pop for a bit. I love pop music, and I like Carly too. I played with her before, here and there. And I was just like, I said no to it. But I was like, I remember like, just like, do I back, like, what do I do here? Because this is like world tour. It's in the opening band, but still it's a world tour.
Yeah.
You know, or do I do the band with the music that I actually want to do? Nothing against Carly. It just wasn't my thing. And I definitely feel like I made the right decision.
Yeah.
You know, I never regretted that decision. And I think it's just, you know, for myself, it's paid off. I get to do music I enjoy now, and I feel good about it. I like my band. I like listening. I like the songs.
Yeah.
I like, which is, not the case with some. I mean, not everything, but there's been stuff before. I'm kind of like, it's just not my thing. It's a good song, written, does times, but it's not my thing. So, but
do you have a rock background then? If you go back to when you were in high school and stuff like that, you had mentioned Pearl Jam, like when all that came out.
My very first concert kind of sums up. It was Lollapalooza '93 was the first time my parents let me go to a concert. So the very first band I ever saw on stage was Rage Against the Machine.
That's amazing.
Wow.
And like on their very first like big tour, they were the
Where was this?
band. It was at Molson Park in Barrie. It was the third year of Lollapalooza. My parents wouldn't let me go to the year before, which had Pearl Jam at it. Right. But they let me go to that one. And so I saw them. They were the first band. Then I remember going over to the side stage to see Tool. Side stage. Yeah, they were still side stage. I think by the end of that tour, they put them on the main stage. Yeah. And then the headliners that night were Alice in Chains.
Oh, cool.
And I met Lane Staley that day. He was walking around the park in a suit. So he stood. It was a white suit or a gray suit, and he was just kind of wandering around, like talking to fans. And I got to shake his hand and say hi. Which for me, at the time, 13-year-old, I was like, "You're the lead singer of Alice in Chains." And then Primus was the headliner. And I'm like, okay, so like this was a.
How old were you?
13.
Okay, so this is post bass. You're already
started playing. Yeah. And I got to see like Tim Comerford with Rage, and I got to see it wasn't Justin Chancellor. It was the original bass player from Tool. I can't remember, Paul D'Amour. And I got to see Les Claypool. All in one day. And Mike Inez,
That's pretty
yeah.
It was incredible. And that kind of that's kind of where my roots are for bass, like for music. Yeah. I'm a 90s rock kid. I was into the whole grunge alternative thing that happened in the early 90s. So that's really where I feel most comfortable. That and Zeppelin and stuff. That's where my roots are.
So it makes sense that you come back around and you feel good about, making that decision to play the music that is in your blood,
Exactly. Yeah. With that stuff, there's a lot of guys out there that can play that stuff way better than I can, like the pop thing. And guys who can do a double on synth bass, which is a huge thing now. Yeah. Like I remember auditioning for Lady Gaga. I got this huge like cattle call. It was where Ricky Tilo got the gig.
Right.
He was there in New York, and as soon as it came to the synth part, I'm like, oh, yeah.
Can play keyboards.
Not with the foot.
I've done it since. If you set up the synth for me, it's cool, but I didn't. I wasn't the guy for that.
Yeah.
Thing.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How was that audition though? Like, maybe can you give us a snapshot of that audition? It must have been crazy. Like, where was it? First of all, it was in New York, right?
New York City. Yeah. So I remember I was doing it was a Ukrainian. It was like a wedding gig. I used to play in this Ukrainian wedding band kind of thing. It was either that or a New Year's gig. I can't remember.
Awesome.
It was in January. So yeah, it was probably a Ukrainian New Year's gig. And I got kind of told that this thing was happening like the next day in New York City. And I remember like after the gig, I drove home and I called up Jason Pierce, who was a friend of mine, drummer who plays with Our Lady Peace now. And I'm like, dude, let's go to New York. And I drove into Toronto. I picked him up. Like, I had barely slept. I drove, and Jay didn't drive, so I drove the entire way. We stayed with some people that I think he knew, and we went to the audition. And it was just an open cattle call audition at this big theater kind of thing in New York. It felt like they had already knew who they were going to choose. I get the feeling that they already had a band lined up. And I think they kind of
including Ricky?
I think they made a spot for Ricky.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
they're like, this guy's too good for this.
Yeah.
He's perfect for it.
He's great.
Oh, Jesus. I love Ricky.
Yeah, he's awesome.
But anyway, yeah, my audition. Well, okay, I'll tell you Jay's story first, because it's pretty good. So they wanted all the drummers to play the track. And,
so he's auditioning too.
Oh yeah, he went down. We both did the audition.
Okay.
And it was weird because it was like you auditioned in front of. If you were a drummer, you auditioned in front of a room of drummers, and I'm not talking like 10 drummers. I'm talking like 100 drummers.
Yeah.
And then you had like a table set up, like American Idol style.
Yeah.
With like not her, but like her MD, and I think like her choreographer and a manager guy, and it was that kind of thing. And you had to audition in front of this huge room with the people sitting at a table, which was, I mean, that's not. I don't think that's a good way to hold auditions. You're not going to get.
Yeah. So all the people were in the seats?
Yes. Yeah. All the other drummers were in the seats. And Jay was the first up because he was the first one there for the drum audition.
Right.
And he had to play a track. Now the track rig wasn't working. Now Jay, being like genius guy he is, rebuilt their track rig for them.
On the spot.
On the spot.
Give him the gig.
He got the whole thing fired up. And then they said, like, you picked the song in the thing, but it turned out that they already had a song chosen, which was a song he didn't know.
Oh.
So he had to just kind of play along to a track he had no idea how it went.
Oh.
Exactly.
That's terrible.
So, yeah, and then they're like, okay, well, thanks.
Doesn't matter who you are, you can't win that one.
Yeah.
Did he sabotage the rig after that?
Unplug a couple of cables.
Exactly. Mine was just like, it was the same thing, room full of bass players, but we didn't play to anything.
Was it just you on the stage?
Yeah.
Just by yourself?
A bass. Like, what do you want me to do here? I mean, and there were some guys who went up, and like guys that I recognized that were like New York shredder guys. I mean, there was a couple of guys I remember going up that were like heavy jazz guys, which I knew they weren't going to get it, but it was kind of fun to watch them.
Yeah.
There was a couple of guys there that I knew personally from Toronto, and they did great. Like, everybody did the best with what they had. There were some guys that just, clearly didn't know what was. I mean, it was just weird stuff. Some guys who were more into their costumes than.
Oh yeah.
There was a guy ahead of me who had, he actually screwed up the song he was playing in order to find the switch on his pants that they lit up. Pants lit up.
No.
Which I guess if it had gone over well, it would have been fine. But, at least he tried.
Yeah.
More than I had. I had a black t-shirt on. But mine was the same thing. As soon as I was done, they're like, okay, thanks. I'm like, all right, I guess I'm going to drive home.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And then I remember because Jay and I had to we spent the night in New York after that. And then we got up, we had to get back to Toronto for a rehearsal with another artist the next day. And we got to my car and the battery was dead.
Oh.
It was just a nightmare. The whole thing was a disaster.
Oh, no.
I hang out for a night in New York. That was fun.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. It's a great story, man. It's
That's
a great
story.
Yeah. But it was a weird audition. I personally, I'm not good at that kind of audition.
Yeah.
I need to have a drummer to play with. I mean, come on. Like, I'm not gonna. Why do you need a guy that can slap a crazy bass solo for this gig?
Yeah.
Like, that was my mind. I'm like, why would I want to do that? Like, I don't want to play fancy stuff for you because it's a Lady Gaga gig. There's no bass part, eighth notes or quarter notes. There's nothing going on. I got to be able to groove with a drummer.
Yeah.
But
it sounds like you said, it sounds like they already knew who they were going to pick, and they were just going through the process.
Well, the guy that got it, I saw him sitting next to. He went up, and he was amazing. Like, I'm not kidding. I don't know who this guy was, but his keyboard chops were insane. Like, he started playing like Michael Jackson stuff and like all this like just crazy synth stuff.
Cool.
I had nothing on that guy. There was no way. But he was clearly buddies with the MP.
Right.
I don't know if it was. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Ricky got a gig, so
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I went and did the cattle call audition for the Blue Man Group when I first moved to Toronto.
Oh,
I might have been here for a month and a half tops, and I went to this audition. I've never gone through anything like that in my life. Same sort of thing, theater, that Panasonic theater, or was it Sony, one of those, where the Blue Man Group ran forever.
Yeah.
And same thing, all the drummers sitting there watching you. And the drummer from the gig, which I ended up, like I knew him, Colin, Shannon Face.
Oh yeah.
Husband.
Yeah.
Now lives in Florida. He was just playing the part. He just needed like a part that you had to play, and they're like, okay, copy him. It wasn't a song. It was just like a drum group, like a rhythm and then a voicing pattern. That's it. Or it wasn't that complicated at all. But the drums were faced like turns, and you're at the front of the stage or downstage, and basically the first row of drummers was right there in your face, and you could tell they're all just like waiting for you to fuck it up, right? So they could have their turn. Oh, it was terrible. I hated it.
Yeah.
I couldn't even remember what they said after. I just couldn't get out of there fast enough.
Any audition is kind of nerve-wracking to begin with. Yeah, you couple it with like 20 people or 100 people watching you do it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Outside of music, man, any hobbies that you do?
No, I'm
Just-
my
there goes 15 minutes.
my outside of music hobbies are literally like setting up basses and stuff. I'm a total nerd.
When I read that one, buddy, when I read that question, I thought that's exactly what it was going to be.
Yeah, I go through little phases, I guess. I mean, I know at the beginning of COVID, I got really into like watching car videos for some reason. I
Nice.
still am, but like I'd never been a car guy, and now I'm kind of a car guy, even though I drive like. I've never owned a nice car, but I like them. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as hobbies go, I don't know if I have. I don't know. I don't have enough brain capacity for it. It's all kind of into gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, man.
Like
Well, when you find a guy that like you can only be a master at, one thing, right, in your lifetime, maybe two if you're lucky, and you're a master at the bass, buddy.
Oh, thanks, man.
Absolutely. So I mean, it takes hours and hours and hours to put into something like that. I mean, it's hard to spread your time to a bunch of different things, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm not doing music, I want to be spending that time with the family. So
Yeah.
it's not gonna. But I mean, that being said, I just got like a new Sansamp sent me this new pedal DI thing. I think I spent like 5 hours on it today.
Oh, that's easy to do. Yeah, that's not a hobby. That's just having fun.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know.
I'm like, oh, can I get like? Well, it's like the Geddy Lee preamp. So I'm like, okay, got the Geddy Lee sound done. Can I get a Billy Sheehan sound out of this? Okay. Can I get a John? So I was just like, that.
That's
So
amazing.
you've got a recording rig set up there now. So you're doing bass. You're tracking it home.
Yep.
Right, and that's been going pretty good. How long have you been doing that? Like,
just since COVID started, that was like, honestly, I had nothing going into this. I had a laptop from like the 90s.
right.
It was old. It didn't do anything. So I bought a new laptop and I got the UA Apollo.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. My first one did go down. I bought one. Yeah, I was just tracking one day. I just shut off. I took it back and they just gave me a new one.
Yeah.
The other one had just died.
Nice.
And this one's been fine. But I've done a few sessions just like from home. People send me stuff. I remember early on, I went and did an album for this girl. It started off as like 2 songs I was supposed to go do. And we ended up tracking her entire record, except for one song, and then I ended up tracking that one at home. And I heard the record, and it sounded. I was like, okay. I mean, it didn't change. Like, it sounded like the stuff I had done in the studio. Pretty much. I mean, usually for bass too, it's pretty. Like, I don't have to set up mics. I'm not like a drummer, or even a guitar. Like, they only want the DI.
Yeah,
I got a really good DI, so I can do an amp sim or mic up a cabinet, but they're going to use the DI anyways.
Totally, man.
Yeah, even for guitar players, they're getting pretty good at the at modeling now, man. It's getting pretty frightening, you know.
Yeah.
Well, even if you wanted to double up anything on the bass or anything to get another sound, I mean, it's the oyster. The world's yours, right? Like in the box. I mean, you got everything you're going to want as an engineer producer to create a sound right inside the computer now. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's cool. I mean, I've just been like learning. You know, I never bothered to learn how to set like I didn't know that setting like compression ratios and all that kind of stuff. I'm just geeking out on that.
Yeah.
You know, I spend hours on that stuff.
Weeks, months on compression.
Well, I'm talking daily. I'm just talking daily.
Oh yeah. That's right.
I'm still trying to figure it out, but
I've read a few articles on it where guys that are great at it go, I'm not really sure what I'm doing. I just think I figured it out, but I'm still not sure what's going on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No,
well, because the thing is, it'll change from session to session. I mean, you have your settings or whatever that you know that these settings sound good for this kind of thing, but you'll tweak it and dial it to fit whatever you're going for at the moment, right?
Yeah. And I've been mentally redesigning my rig for whenever we get to tour again, and just like thinking about stuff like that, which I know I'm going to spend all this time at it, and it's what always happens. We'll get into the rehearsal space, and I'll go right back to what I always do because it won't work. It won't work within the first 5 minutes. I'll get fed up and go back to it.
That's right. Yeah.
It's fun trying.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is. I mean, I just before COVID, the last couple of tours I did were a bunch of flying. And I got tired of having to strip pedal boards down to fly, so I got a Boss MS3. Yeah. You know, just to have a couple of, I can bring my own drive on there, but some, delays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I get lost in there some days, just playing. So I'm finally getting around. It was the first digital effects I've ever used.
Right.
25 plus years of playing. So it's I can understand that, but I got to get a better recording rig. I have a 2011 MacBook with GarageBand.
Right.
So
you
could do some cool things in there, but it's limited. It's very limited. So
right.
I might have to talk to you once we can.
Yeah, actually, I want to pick your brain about that Boss unit because I was thinking about getting one just as a switcher. I need something for pedal switching. I don't need it.
I was just talking to my son about. I said, well, but I still like all my analog pedals. I got to get. Two of my favorite compressors went down. Our first gig back in August at a drive-in. Beautiful summer, pouring rain that day. Two compressors and a stage tuner everything got drenched, but they just didn't come back.
It was a lake on that stage.
It was a lake. I had 3 inches of water on my side of the stage. It was just ridiculous, right? So, anyways, I'm talking about using the Boss. I've got it's a 44-pound pedal board. And I was talking about putting the Boss unit in front of it as a switcher, or have the board off to the side. Use it as a switcher, right? And just a volume pedal and a wah pedal up front with a switcher.
Right.
So yeah, they're pretty good for that. You can do 3 loops in there too. So you can bring everything in, or you can bring 3 separate things on how you want to pattern it and stuff like that. Yeah. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
But where do you connect the kick drum pedal to though?
You can.
Where?
Inside chain.
Front, the back, the side.
Pushing off the kick drum.
That's right.
You can be a part of this too, man.
I am. I'm trying, boys.
Hey, we've had Jeff Salem on here where I'm sitting around for 20 minutes not saying a freaking word. Oh, drums. Yeah.
What have you been watching?
Okay.
Cars.
No, actually lately. Just started WandaVision.
Same here.
Caught up with that.
What's this now?
WandaVision.
Yeah.
It's the new Marvel thing. So it's Scarlet Witch, Wanda, and Vision. They have their own. It's like a Disney Plus show.
Yeah.
It's cool.
I just started the first 2 episodes last night.
It's not
fantastic.
Yeah, it's really well done.
Okay.
I mean, which just satisfies the comic book nerd in me. Other than that, well, of course,
So much good
Mandalorian.
stuff.
What's that?
Disney Plus has
Oh,
so
sorry.
much good stuff, like all that Marvel stuff. Yeah.
Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Taken that down a few times now.
Yeah.
The Queen's Gambit.
Yes.
Yes. it's
Fantastic.
awesome.
She's great.
Yeah.
The-
fantastic.
everything about that show is fantastic. It's such a good show.
You'd think it would be dry and slow, but it's not. It's really not.
No. I started watching Your Honor the other day. You seen that?
I
That's
think I seen
Bryan
a
Cranston?
preview of that.
It's Bryan Cranston. He plays a judge. It's in I think
Okay.
it's in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Kind of. I mean, it's kind of. He's sort of. I'm only 2 episodes in. He's sort of playing the Breaking Bad character to an extent.
Yeah.
But the plot line to it's fantastic. There's a scene though in the first episode I actually had to fast. Like I'm pretty good with gory stuff.
Yeah.
But there's one scene in that first episode that I had to actually fast forward past.
Wow.
It was just like it involves like a car accident kind of thing. It's awful.
I love that it's set in New Orleans. Like I know I've seen the preview, and I noticed that the New Orleans thing. That's pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't want to give anything away if you haven't seen it, but it's definitely worth checking out.
Right on.
Yeah. Other than that,
How many episodes of the Tiger King did you get in there?
oh, I got them all in.
Atta boy, I did too.
You didn't watch it?
I'll see it in 10 years or something. I go,
Yeah.
maybe I should watch this thing.
It won't be as good then.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
I think at least there was nothing in that show I could relate to.
Yeah.
So it was just like totally like, okay, this I can just zone out on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just can't
But it was just so ridiculous, like that's real.
Mhm.
That's why I think everyone just couldn't stop watching it, because it's like this can't be right. Like it's really how it went down, you know.
I'm sure that some of that stuff's exaggerated to an extent and done up on TV. But I mean, at
I
the
would
same
think
time,
so.
even if it's really exaggerated, it's still crazy. Like
It's crazy, the whole
Yeah.
story. And then he just tried to get parole or something. Oh no, he was trying to get Donald Trump to pardon him.
Yeah.
He had a limo waiting outside the prison.
Isolation records, baby. Desert Island, 3 Desert Island isolation records. Now,
Read.
when Chambers did it, he did the 3, then he went on to 4, then he went on to 5, 6, 7. It just kept climbing and climbing, and I'm like, dude, you've picked 8. He goes, I know, let's keep going. And, in Chambers style, right? Just throwing them out.
Yeah.
It's hard to pick.
It is hard. It'd be impossible to narrow it down to. Okay, well, obviously the boring, obvious bass player one. The first, like the Jocko album, the original Jocko Pastorius album.
Right. That's the one where on the picture it's him,
It's just him on the
his
cover.
bass and the beanie cap.
No, it's just his face.
When he's really young.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's still. I still listen to that record like once a week. You have to. I mean, there's so much to dig out of that album.
Is that Donna Lee's on there?
Donnelly,
Yeah.
Tracy,
Or Tracy, right, okay, yeah.
everything. It's incredible. And everybody's on it too. It's like, you got Herbie Hancock, you got Michael Brecker, you got everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That New York sound of that time,
Yeah.
dude. Like, I mean, Saturday Night Live has its own sound, right? That band. That is a New York sound.
Yeah, and well, the funny thing about that record is you had like this weird, you had that Florida thing that Jocko had being brought into those New York guys.
Yeah.
He didn't even want them on it. He had a band in Florida that he wanted to use on that record.
Oh, was that right?
And they
I didn't know that.
like the producer, the guy from Bobby Colomby. He was a drummer. Can't think of the band he was in. Huge band. Anyway, he was like, no.
What was his name?
I think
Bobby-
it's Bobby Colomby. Like it looks like Columbia, but with a Y on the end or something. I can't. it was like one of those big horn bands from the time. Not Chicago, but anyway. Doesn't matter.
Is it Not Colby? Like Colby?
No, it's Coulmby. I think that's it.
Okay.
I think
You'll find it.
anyway. Doesn't matter.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Drummer.
Not Earth,
Who did he play for?
Blood,
Sweat, and Tears.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, that's a good Canadian connection on that one.
Yeah. But yeah,
Clayton Thomas.
he brought him up to New York and was like, no, we're going to use these guys. And of course, it was like all the best guys. But it has that, it's just an interesting sounding record. So you have like the element of that the band all has that kind of New York jazz sound from that time.
Mm-hmm.
At least I always think of it that way.
Yeah.
Like, same as what you mentioned.
Yeah.
But you have Jocko, so you have like this first time anybody had heard that, like that sort of fretless thing that he had. And then you have like him bringing in elements of the Florida sound that he had come from too. So it's just such an interesting record.
What would be an example, in your opinion, of a Florida sound at that time, do you think?
Well, I mean, he was bringing in some like Caribbean elements to it.
Yeah, right.
To it, like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right.
Which I mean, just like where he, the influences from where he grew up.
Yeah, yeah.
And you had like R&B song. You had Sam and Dave sing a song on there. It's such a cool record.
Great.
But I think every bass player will always say that. I think.
Well, we've had a couple bass players on this show, and they have. I don't know if they picked that one.
Jocko.
Oh, they trust me.
Well, we're going to have to go back and call each one of them.
No, I'm calling them all out. They were,
we'll give you the list of names.
Yeah, that's right. You got Paul Ensign. Here, a couple guys.
Hey, Paul Ensign was close though, because he picked the Joni Mitchell record that Jackal was on.
That's right. So there you go. That's
Jocko's
connected.
Sneak it in. No, I'm not. Yeah, but really, he's got the Jocko record.
Yeah.
I mean, anything Led Zeppelin.
Okay.
I can't pick just one. I mean, I grew up mostly with 1 and 2. Those were, I guess, the big ones when I was younger, so I'd probably have to go with those, even though now I listen to like some of the later stuff more.
Okay, because it's you.
Yeah.
We'll throw the 1 and 2 as a compilation into one of your guests. Okay.
Okay.
So because it's you. Because
I only have one left.
You only got one left. Listen, we've decided that we should change this. Well, we've talked about it. We haven't actually pulled the trigger, but we need to change it from Isolation Records to Isolation Crate, because nobody can pick 3. So
Oh, okay. Well, are you thinking more? So Isolation? Are you thinking like records that have kind of gotten us through this whole thing?
Well, that's it. It was like it's the COVID Isolation Records.
Yeah, it's like the Desert Island.
It's really Desert Island Records. It's like what it turned into that. It morphed into that.
I gotta say though, like the one thing, the weirdest record for me that's actually every time I hear from now on, I'm 10 years down the line when I hear this record, I'm gonna think of COVID, which is weird. Is David Lee Roth's "Eat 'Em and Smile"?
I love that record
so many times.
Dude, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
What a band.
I got into it. For some reason, I got linked to Elephant Gun with that song off that record.
Yeah.
Elephant Gun. And I'm just like, this is...
Name doesn't...
It's on Eat 'Em and Smile.
Yeah.
It's just insane. It's ridiculous.
Like Eat 'Em and Smiles with Yankee Rose and...
Yankee Rose, Shy Boy.
Yeah. So
Elephant
good.
Gun. Easy, all that stuff. It's such a good record.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know why I listen to it all the time. I was never a big Van Halen guy.
Oh, okay.
I love Van Halen. Don't get me wrong, but I never was into it when I was younger. And I think I always thought David Lee Roth was kind of a goof. I didn't get him.
Yeah.
He's kind of a goof, but
he is a goof
in the best way.
Totally.
Yeah. Such a great record, and I listen to it all the time.
Oh, that's.
Okay, going back to Desert Island stuff, there have to be one for me that always kind of. I mean, it always takes. for me, like it takes me back to a specific time. Is Pearl Jam's Versus, their second record. Mm-hmm. That one for me, every time I hear it, I think about, I can remember exactly where I was when I bought it. Like I remember walking home from the record store with it. Well, I had the cassette in my Walkman, listening to it. It was in the fall. I remember it. Like and that record for some reason always kind of stands up to me. Like it's just cool. It's a great album. And it's got so many good songs on it. I think that's kind of like the thing.
The thing that you were saying that you played it on. What was that? You said you were walking. You said you were walking, but what was?
I was walking with a Walkman. It was the yellow Sony Sport Walkman.
Cassettes? Ed doesn't know cassettes.
Yeah, it was a waterproof one.
That's amazing. I know the one. I know the one with the clip and the snap clip.
Auto reverse on it. Do you remember that?
Auto reverse. Dude. Remember the ones that would
suck the batteries like crazy though. Remember it had the one with the mega bass switch on it?
And you could fast forward to the next song and it would stop at that little pause.
It would stop!
That was a huge... Unless I was a big Rush fan, that prog rock stuff never stopped. It just kept... It just went in. So it just...
One whole side.
You couldn't go through to the next song. So, that's funny.
You said you're a big Rush... I was never a huge Rush fan. I obviously had, I bought moving pictures, I listened to it a bit, but I had an interesting experience where I got to our old tech. Like when I first joined the band, the tech who handled Ian's side of the stage was this guy Scully, who's now, or has been, Getty's tech now.
Okay.
He right after us, he got on with Getty. So he called me up one day and he's like, I got these pickups that I think you might like, the jazz bass pickups. So I'm like, okay. So, and he's like, okay, meet me at this address. So I drive down, it's in Mississauga, and I roll in, and I got my 78 jazz bass on me. And it turns out the pickups were actually the Getty Lee. Getty had some custom wound pickups done to match the ones that are in his main bass, like his number one.
Yeah.
And I guess he had two sets made at the time for his number two bass, and whichever one he liked better, he was going to keep. And I got the ones he didn't like as much.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, still,
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
man. Come on,
but
that's
it turns
amazing.
out I'm meeting Scully at Rush's lockup.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Do it. So I get to go in, and it's like all the drum kits from all the eras are in their case. I didn't see the kits, but they're all in cases in this room. And while Scully was putting in my pickups, he's like, "Go, you see that case over there? Go open that up." And I open it up, and it's Getty's number one. Like it's like the '72 jazz bass.
Yeah,
like forever. Yeah. And I got to play it. And it was crazy, and it was such a crazy experience because I didn't sound anything like Getty when I played that. Like it's just, I realized it was kind of like, okay, it's 100% the guy, not the.
It is, yeah.
Like it just totally sounded like me. I had my iPad on me, and I was able to record myself playing it. I'm like, nope, still sound exactly like me.
Exactly, yeah.
One of the most iconic sounding basses of all time, you think, like signature-wise, sound.
Yeah, for sure, man.
No, it just sounds like me.
Yeah, that was
that's a great story, though, buddy.
Cool. Loved that. Yeah, it was a great band for me. It was a band that I can appreciate why I like them now, but I can't listen to them the same way anymore. It was It was a grade 7, 8, 9, 10 kind of thing where that's what I was into, and Yeah, it was perfect. It taught me how to play out of 4/4 time though.
Right.
So when there's all any other thing that's not 4/4, it's like I had to learn how to play in 4.
Yeah.
Ed's still looking at me. You haven't mastered that yet.
It's all right, man. He counts in 5, 6, 7, 8. So
hey,
5, 6.
Well, I was a bass player that did that, not a guitar player.
Yeah. We were on a gig, and with the sub bass player decides he's going to count in the tunes. Well, that's funny enough, right there.
Okay.
And he looks over us. And he goes 5, 6, 7, 8, and I look at him. I go,
we just
nope.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of the show. I'm like, nope. 1, 2, no, we ain't having that, dude. You stay over there. You're not allowed to talk to me anymore tonight.
Oh, Jesus.
This is a dance recital, man. No.
You're right. That's what I said.
That was, my God. And then he had literally we were driving from Windsor to about an hour past Montreal for the next gig. And he had butchered the first show.
Okay.
So I think 4 hours into the drive, I text Ed like, hey, do you think he's going to open up his laptop anytime soon as they're working on tunes? So I just taps him, hey, you might want to start working on some songs. Which
if I
ones?
didn't say it, then it would have been the same show the next night.
He did an hour, and it was. Then in soundcheck, we sort of ran what we talked about. Oh, okay, you got it a little better. And then as each part of the song's coming up when we're live, and so, that part. Oh, yeah, that part too. It was just, he didn't know it. He didn't know it.
We made it. We got through it.
I really think, I mean, I wish people would take it a little more seriously sometimes. If you're subbing in on something, like you're being paid to do a job.
Yeah.
You got to do your homework. I don't understand how people cannot. For me, I still get nightmares about screwing up on stage.
Exactly. Nightmares.
I know I tend to I've been guilty probably of over preparing, I guess, if that's a thing, but it's well, just I mean, in the sense I probably did it too much, to the sense where I didn't need to, but I'm just, it drives me, the idea of messing up on stage is enough to make me kind of, even if I'm doing like a bar gig and it's a song I've never played before, and I tell them that, like, I don't know this, like, and they're like, okay, well, we'll walk you through it. Even making a mistake in that, where there's nobody in the room even.
No pressure.
It still, I have a hard time with it.
That's what allows you to play the better gigs, is by having, I've had a good friend of mine explained how a lot of people bring bar attitudes onto the bigger stages. You know, they'll bring the attitude of the bar band onto Massey Hall. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, unless you're a punk band or something like that happens to be, like, it doesn't translate the same way, because you don't have all the screens, you don't have all the stuff that draws attention away from what you're doing. You have 2,000 sets of eyes that are focused on the band. So any little mistake pops out, you know.
On anything. I mean, I think it goes through all, like, if you're gonna do this for a living, take it seriously.
Right.
Parts, like, learn as much as you can. You know, like, yes, there are times where, life gets in the way. It might be a bar gig, and it's like, okay, guys, we all talked about we're going to learn this song for this week, and you show up and you didn't. I've been very guilty of doing that numerous times, but it's, I don't know. I have a hard time playing a song that I don't know, or at least it just bugs me. And to be able to walk into a gig and not be ready for it, especially on a sub gig with a band that's established and they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's going to be very obvious who the guy is who doesn't know. And then also, too, you're not going to get called back. And people are going to talk about it. That's going to get around.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. I don't know. I've never understood that mentality. It's something that I've been on gigs where guys are like that, and it just bugs me. It takes away from the show. Like the whole thing for me is the whole band playing together well, and you put that one loose end to it. You don't have to be a monster player. You just have to know the part. No.
Yeah.
If you know the part and play it well.
But you have to, or say no.
Yes.
Don't take the gig. If you know you don't have time to learn all this stuff, if you know, like, you shouldn't be saying yes. Or if you don't fit, like, if you're a metal guy and you're going to try to sit in with a country band.
Latin,
or Latin, it's even a better one.
Yeah.
You know, or jazz or something. Just don't say yes.
Don't say yes.
Don't
know your limits.
Get it? Like, you're not.
Yeah. Isn't that the saying of the Music's Anonymous? Is just know your limits and play within it?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe that's Lotto. Something like that.
Lotto.
Know your limits, play within it. I mean, and then there's the other side of the coin, the flip side of the coin, where people say, accept everything, and then, once you get the gig, then learn the material. Like, just say yes to everything. You could get yourself into some pretty hot water by doing that. You got to really know what you can come up with in what period of time.
Like, I could take a gig, and I think I could probably do a reasonable, like, say it was like a R&B gig or something like that. I could do a decent job at that. I'm not going to be as good. I mean, there's guys that kick my ass on that stuff, but I'll do okay. I can get through that. But I'm not, like, I've been offered jazz gigs. I'm just like, no.
I say no
to them too. I don't want to be that guy sitting there looking at a real book, first of all.
Yeah.
There's so many guys that can do this so much better than I can, who will show up with an upright bass, who will know how to play all of me.
Yeah.
I'd have to look at a chart for that, because it's been that long since I've done it. So I've said no.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, you don't want to fall on your face.
No, I don't want to fall on my face, and I don't want to be a drag. I don't want to make it sound bad. Like, I want you to have a good gig. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that stuff gets around.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So.
Yeah, that's a small little industry.
It's tiny.
Yeah, it's tiny. Yeah.
So, Ed, is this where we were going to ask that little jazz trio gig we were going to do?
I got my brushes
find a different
right
bass
here.
player.
By the way, yes.
Do you think Chambers knows how to play upright?
What's next for you, man? What's going on? Like, so the summer coming up here. Well, not soon enough, but
I mean,
do you guys know anything that's happening?
I don't. I mean, there's been, I remember last fall they were talking about there was going to be possible summer shows, but now I don't know, man. Like now it's like they're saying like vaccine. Every day it just keeps getting pushed back.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I mean, I'm hoping we can do some drive-in stuff.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah, we're hoping.
I'm assuming.
I think they'll attempt to try to do something like that again, but I honestly don't think it's going to go back to regular, even for the big acts like yourself, till next summer.
Yeah, I mean, we got to wait until. I think. I mean, this is just me talking, but I mean, there's probably going to be sporting events before there's any kind of, at least especially indoor shows.
Yeah.
I mean, hockey's going to come back before music does. You know what I mean? Like those are the priorities, realistically. And I mean, outdoor shows, maybe if they can figure out a way to keep people distant, I don't know.
That's it. Yeah.
But I don't know how the money's gonna be made. I'm hoping, my fingers are crossed, but I just don't know.
Like, I've seen some of the Frank, maybe you sent me the picture in England last summer when they were doing shows and they were all on like their own little riser. So you have your bubble of people on their own little kind of two partition piece riser.
There is, and there's some. There's a couple of the Classic Albums bunch of guys that are in Florida. They're doing some outdoor shows now that are the same way. You have your own little roped off area, so it's a festival, but you got to stay. If you're out of that area, you have to be wearing a mask. And this is Florida.
Do you have any words of inspiration for any upcoming bass players, musicians, people that were in your boat?
I mean, I think go back to what I was saying earlier. Like, prepare, learn the parts, show up on time, be cool, don't be weird. Yeah. Have good gear that works.
Yeah.
That you know how to at least sort of work. Like, you can, you don't have to learn how to take apart an amplifier, but know how to fix your stuff.
Yeah. Have a plan B.
What's that? Sorry?
Or have a plan B.
Exactly. Yeah, always bring two basses. For that sense. Like, I don't understand this showing up with one and then you break a string and everybody's got to wait.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Because it will happen eventually, even if you haven't broken a string in 5 years, it'll happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't. In terms of like inspirational stuff, I don't know. I mean, just become a doctor or a lawyer.
Truth with Dave.
Yeah, really hard. No, I mean, that's it. I think. I mean, I don't.
That's awesome, man. Dude, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Man, yeah.
It's, you know what, man? It's been too long since we got to see each other, but it's good to see your face, man.
Same here, buddy.
And I appreciate you, dude, and I appreciate you coming on the show. And let's play some music together in the future. That'd be fun.
Absolutely, that'd be good.
Great to meet you too, there, Dave.
You too, buddy.
Once we get out of this COVID, we can. We're not that far away from each other, so
yeah.
Do a hang somewhere and just keep Chris out.
We want to do like a kind of come back and do a couple of these when we can do them in person and actually set it up, have some fun, have a couple people on. Like, wouldn't it be hilarious to get yourself and Chambers, like a couple guys that are just, we wouldn't be able to, like, it would just be a laugh session.
Yeah.
2 hours.
Yeah.
It's coming.
It's coming.
Hey, McMillian. Right. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Cheers.
Take care of yourself, and best of luck to you and all the big rec boys and your family. I wish you nothing but success, man, and healthy road ahead.
Same here.
Right on, man. Have a great night.
Okay.
Frank Corin.
Sorry.
That was Dave McMillian, buddy. How cool was that? That was a great hang, man.
Awesome hang. I love the story about the audition, man, in New York City for Lady Gaga. I love those kind of.
There was a ton of great stories.
Yeah, but just that kind of stuff. Yeah. I love those situations in life.
We could have talked to him for another hour easily. Like it was just, yeah, it was awesome.
Great cat.
Great guy.
Great person. Love him.
And monster player. We'll put some clips and stuff up here of him playing. You've probably already seen it. And there it is.
There it is.
Okay.
We hope you enjoyed that, folks. And
Frank, okay, now you're above me. So now we're all messed up.
Oh, what?
At least we could do this now. Where are you? Where am I to you?
You're above me.
You're above me. Frank.
Yeah, just
appreciate
whatever.
it, brother. Love you.
Spin it around. Yeah, love you too, man. You have a great night. We'll see you next month, folks.
Yeah, awesome.
Bye-bye.
Take care. But
turn off.